So here's the deal. I have 3 kids, 5 and under. I work 25 hours a week. I keep the house running by doing some sort of cleaning and laundry every day. I communicate with my partner and plan our meals around our activities. I also take time off my phone and stay present with my kids throughout the week. I listen to audiobooks when I can and stay pretty active. I try to look after myself and practice pretty good self-care. And the best part is I don't even wake up before my kids, which I know you thought I was about to tell you to do. So let's go through exactly what I do. And the other thing is I don't always have all of the energy. Like Penelope is still only 1. She also wakes up throughout the night still for bottles. I actually don't always feel really good every day. I don't feel motivated every day. I don't wake up like ready to go. But that is exactly why these next 4 things I'm about to tell you are so important, because I know as a mum, you don't always feel like you've got the energy, and plans don't always work. Like they don't, even when you plan to have the best week ever, everybody knows with kids, they might wake up teething, or they might, have gastro or whatever else. Things never go according to plan with kids. But that again is why these 4 things I'm about to tell you are so important. And as I said, I'm a mum of 3. So it's taken me some years to figure this stuff out. And it's also come from like other people's wisdom as well. Not just, other mums and stuff, but also people from my past, like teachers and things like that. When I go into my examples, it'll make more sense. But these are things that I've learned along the way throughout my life that now I've actually adapted into motherhood to just make my life flow so much better, not just for my kids, but for me. Because the thing is, it wasn't always like this for me, right? Like I think the first thing that I had to implement was failing to plan is planning to fail. And I remember when I was a first time mom and I just had Stevie, I used to just like do things like, as I wanted to, like with the baby on my hip. Like I didn't really plan anything. I didn't really think about anything. I was honestly just living my life the way I had previously, like before kids, just with a baby on my hip. And, Tom and I, whenever we made meals and stuff like that, we just used to shop every 2 to 3 days and just buy whatever we felt like, and just that's what we used to eat, and that's just how we used to live. And then it wasn't until she became a toddler and she started eating more that I was like, oh my God, it was like that thing that hit me, like, holy crap, I'm going to be the one that has to plan the meals every night for the next 30 years. Like, I don't know, that really just hit me, and it just made me feel so overwhelmed. But instead of like getting organized at first, it just used to overwhelm me, and everything used to feel so hard. And I used to try to figure out like, okay, what should we eat and things like that. And suddenly Tom had a new job, and so he was working a lot more. And then I started working a lot more, and Stevie went into daycare. And suddenly I had to try to get organized. And that's when we started shopping once a week. We had to sit down and start planning our meals for the whole week. It was honestly insane. It felt insane to me at the time. I felt like one of those MasterChef contestants when they they're so used to just cooking one beautiful dish, and then suddenly they have to cook for 20 people and they're like so flustered and they don't even know what they're doing, and they end up screwing it up or like just getting it over the line. That's how I felt, was like, oh my gosh, I have to plan all these meals for the whole week, and it just felt so big to me. But I remembered something that my maths teacher taught me back in high school, which was you need to look at your week ahead. You need to plan out your weeks ahead. And so I started to implement that. And so what I did was I just blocked out the times of the week where I knew we were going to do things. So like already, our days of work and things like that, where daycare was, and I don't know, if we had some sort of activity on the weekend, I would just block it out on my weekly planner. And then I would think, okay, what are the meals that we need to be eating around these activities? What are going to be easier on what nights? And I just had to honestly put in that time every week to do that. And all of a sudden life felt better. And then I took it one next level up, and I actually started putting in what days of the week I was going to do laundry, and what days of the week I was going to put the laundry away, and what days of the week I was going to mop the floors and do the bathrooms or whatever. Not that I do the bathrooms every single week, but it was just like, having that routine there and that structure there for me to just make my week so much easier. And this is something that now I just do like normally. And I know if you're feeling overwhelmed, I've actually got a freebie that you can download in the description below, and it just helps you get back on your feet again, because I just know that feeling when, you're deep in motherhood and everything just feels so overwhelming and so hard, and you kind of like don't even know where to start. And for me, it took me weeks and weeks to sort of figure it out. I would even say almost years to figure out how to, sort out my life around my kids, so I didn't feel like that anymore. So anyway, you can check that out in the description below. It's all free. The next thing that I would say is I had to make myself a priority. Like you have to make a commitment to yourself. And I don't just mean like on one day, I mean ongoing. This has to be like a constant commitment to yourself. Like I had to keep doing that for myself because I felt like when mum life got really busy and everything, and maybe we got sick and stuff like that, this just went out the window. But anyway, what I mean by this is like, I used to just like put things on the back burner for so long. I was like, you know what? I think I'm fine. You know, I don't need to listen to audiobooks. I don't need to watch my shows. I don't need to whatever. I felt like when I look back, I was actually hustling in motherhood and I didn't even know that I was doing that. I was just, putting everything on the back burner and I didn't care about what I needed. And I used to just focus so much on my kids and what they needed. And I was like, oh, I'll be right. Like, I'll be fine. It was very much that attitude. And then all of a sudden I was like, hang on. They're not going anywhere. Like, I actually need to sort this out. How is my life going to look now? And I had to literally make a decision to go, okay, I'm going to change that. And I actually need to make me a priority because, at the moment, my kids are the priority. And I don't mean that one has to be more important than the other. Like, your kids, like, my kids aren't a priority over me and I'm not a priority over my kids. It's like everybody's a priority. Everybody in our family is a priority. Like, even as a story, to give an example, like I remember there was this one morning recently where like on the way to work, it's a really good time for me to listen to an audiobook because it takes me like 15 minutes to go to work, like drive to work. And then when I'm there, I have a bit of time before my shift starts where I can just sit in the car, finish off the chapter, or I don't know if it's that long, I can listen to another 15 minutes or something. Anyway, in this one morning, I think it was a Monday morning, and I just worked the Saturday and Sunday, and then now it was Monday morning. And usually I don't do that. Usually I don't work both days of the weekend, but in this particular week, it was just like that. Anyway, and I'd done the daycare drop off. So I'd gotten all the 3 girls ready, which everybody knows is so freaking hard to get everyone's shoes on, everyone's bags packed, without them pulling everything out. I don't know. It's just such a mission. Anyway, and I got them in the car, got them to daycare, dropped them off. And then when I got back in the car on my way to work, I had this moment where I was like, oh, I can't be bothered to listen to the audiobook. And I think I may have even put on like a Taylor Swift song or something. I was like, you know what? I can't do it. But then I did have this next moment where I was like, okay, look, I'm just going to put on the audiobook because I think I just should. And it ended up being a really good chapter of this parenting book that I was listening to. And it surprised me because it was talking all about how good reading is for kids. And it was saying, a suggestion, you can actually start reading around your kids at home and like sit down and just, read your own book that you enjoy and then, model that for your kids. And after a while, like not straight away, but they will start picking up books too and just flicking through them. And then even if they make up stories and like read pages to you that aren't even real or whatever, even that in itself is really, really good. And it was so interesting, this chapter. And then I felt so good after listening to it. And when I was walking into work and everything, I actually felt more energized. And I was like, yes, see, that is an example of where I need to keep making a commitment to myself because now that's actually going to make my life easier. And then when I got home, and throughout the week later, I noticed that Stevie's actually quite interested now in starting to read. And a lot of our books aren't even age appropriate. Like they're all for toddlers or lower. And I was like, I actually need to get more, books for Stevie, my eldest, who's 5. And I was like, we need to start like reading more and doing this. Like this is really, really good. And, then I started to picture days with Stevie where we'd have like reading time and, the TV just goes off and there's no music, no sounds, and it can just be relaxing and we can just all be sitting on the mat together reading. And I don't know, I just honestly felt so good. And I thought, you know what? I know, of course, there's going to be some mornings where I just can't do it. It's just going to be too much for me. And I'll just be like, I just don't have it in me to like listen to the audiobook. But this wasn't really a morning like that. This was just a simple case of Mondayitis. Yeah, I was maybe a little bit more tired than usual, but I just felt like, when I had a choice though. Like I had a choice in that moment and I'm so grateful to myself that I made it. And I feel like as you keep doing that in these little tiny moments throughout your week, you keep making that commitment to yourself. Like that's when things just feel so much easier and they flow so much better. Now, the next thing that I'd probably say is basics over breakthroughs. So this one's pretty simple, but even just like, for instance, I used to feel it's like I was saying earlier, I used to find it so overwhelming thinking, especially when I went to 2 kids, I just thought, oh my gosh, there is so much laundry all the freaking time. And like, there's so many dishes. Like I remember there was this stupid ad for Finish or something and it was like dishes. And I remember remember thinking it in my head like, oh my God, there's just dishes after dishes after dishes. Like it's so overwhelming. But then I realized, I used to feel so overwhelmed by it all and I felt so burnt out all the time. And I'd always be thinking, how am I going to get myself out of this? How am I going to change this whole mum burnout thing? Like this is just not working. And then all of a sudden I talked to ChatGPT about it. Anyway, and then ChatGPT said to me, it's basics over breakthroughs. And this was more like I actually sort of said this to ChatGPT and it spat it back out what I was saying. I was like, I think what's happening is I keep trying to look for these big giant solutions. Like I'm so overwhelmed that this is my life now as a mom and blah, blah, blah. What is that about? And so ChatGPT said to me, that's because you just need to do basics over breakthroughs. So like instead of having this big breakthrough moment of like, yes, this is like how I'm going to do mum life and this is how I'm going to change my life now with my kids and this is that and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, sometimes it's just about nailing the basics. You just need to just spend 5 minutes loading the dishwasher and just turn it on and just leave it at that for a while. And then you just need to put on like one load of washing. It takes a couple of minutes and just leave it at that for a while. And then, come back to it in an hour or 2 hours or even like in the afternoon later on and like unload the dishwasher, or unload the laundry and hang it out. It doesn't need to be these big giant things. Like even just the way now I plan my meals and I plan our week, like that doesn't take me hours and hours. That just takes me deciding to do it. And it only takes me 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not even joking. Like to make my weekly structure where now I have specific days of the week that I do, certain types of laundry and whatever, like the bed sheets and stuff like that. That took me maybe like, I don't know, half an hour max to sit down and do. But now it's something I just glance at every day. And it's like an anchor for me in my day. Like when things are crazy with the kids and it's one of those crazy days, like say like it's a rainy day and everything's crazy and I'm not in a good mood or whatever. And they want me to do everything for them because, kids always want you to be on all the time. Having that structure there is like an anchor for me. And it just helps me to go, okay, everything's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's going to be okay. And again, if you do feel overwhelmed and you feel like it's all too much, I do have a free download in the description below. Please go and get it because I know what it's like when you feel like the world's just on top of you. Motherhood is just running your life and it's just all too much. And sometimes you don't even know where to start or sometimes you try things and they don't work. So that's where my guide down below will just help you get back on your feet. And just like, sometimes I feel like we're literally running. We're like, when you're driving, on those cartoons and they go over like a speed hump or whatever and they're like flying through the air. I feel like sometimes that's what it's like as a mum. You're going so quick and you're trying to do so much and you're just literally flying through the air and you just need something to ground you and like help you find your feet again. That is why I designed my freebie that you need to get down below if you're feeling like that, because it'll just help you get some tools under your belt to feel better again. So I guess the last thing that I had to do was I had to drop the guilt. And this was a bit of a big one. And yeah, it's something that obviously keeps going all the time and like plays a part in all these weird little, everywhere in your life. Like it'll just, in these areas of your life, you'll just see it. It'll just rear its head. But yeah, I had to drop the guilt. And I remember there was this morning where I first was learning about this stuff because obviously I haven't got this from myself. Like I've done courses, I've read books, I've done so many things over the years to get better with motherhood. I remember when I finally decided like, okay, I'm going to put Stevie and Molly into a day of daycare, an extra day a week for me to just have a day to myself. And sometimes I would pick up a shift in this day. So it's not like 100%, guilt-free, but it's like, yeah, I do sometimes work on that day, but I do have a day of the week where every second week or every third week or I don't know, however many times a month, I have a day to myself at home. And I still remember feeling so freaking guilty about this. It took me a long time to get over it. And I still sometimes feel guilty over it. I'm like, oh, should I be doing this? Should I be? But at the end of the day, how I have time for everything, like I said in the beginning, I have time for audiobooks. I am sort of active. I'm not as active as before I had kids, but I do make time to work out and stuff like that. It's because I have that day. I have an allocated day for myself. And you could do this differently. See, we don't have support here where we live, so I do need daycare. They're kind of like my village, and I'm so grateful for our daycare center, for all the carers that we have there. They're incredible. But yeah, you might have, I don't know, your mother-in-law or your mum or whoever else that could maybe take your kids for a couple of hours or whatever a week, if that's what you feel better doing. But you do need this time, and this time isn't just time, you know, as I said before, you got to like make a commitment to yourself. This isn't time where, you know, I would just binge watch shows, even though like, yeah, you can, like I could use it that way for sure. But it's like, no, this was actually time that I need to find my feet again and to feel grounded again and to feel human again. It's kind of like a human day, honestly, because that's how motherhood can make you feel. Like you honestly, sometimes I feel like, you know, I don't even feel human, like my self-care's out the window and all this stuff. And so I need a day of the week where I get back to feeling human again. I listen to my own songs, I listen to Taylor Swift, maybe I do watch a show or two, and I plan our meals and whatever else, even though usually I do that like at nighttime, but like once the kids are gone to sleep. But yeah, this one day is there for me. There's always just stuff. I feel like running a home, running a family, there's always stuff that needs attention, you know, whether it's like, you know, you have to go through the toys, or you just need some time to go and just sort out a few things, or maybe you need to go to an appointment. Maybe you just need to do something like that. And so that's for me what I use that day for. I use it for an appointment, or I use it for things that I need to get done, because we are still our own person as well. Like I'm still my own person. Yeah, I've got kids, but I'm still my own living human, right? I needed to make that a priority. And so the only way that I could do that was by dropping the guilt. And that can happen so many times throughout the week, and that's just an example. But like, I really had to work on going, no, this is actually really important. And I had to keep saying that to myself, like, no, this is really important. And I don't need to feel guilty, because it's actually in turn going to make a happier home life, which is the biggest thing that I want for my kids, is a happy home life. And we all know if mum's happy, the kids are happy. I'm going to leave it there, and I really hope this has been a helpful video to you if you're a mum and you feel just overwhelmed by it all, you feel snowed under. As I said before, there is a free, you know, guide in the description below that you can download to just help you get out of that snowed under feeling, just help you find your feet again. You've got 7 tools to help you get through the week. So yeah. Anyway, let me know what you thought of this video, if you agree, disagree, if you think I'm crazy, whatever. But anyway, I'll talk to you in the next video. Okay, bye.